Welcome to the last part of developing the curriculum podcast. We are in the last part of chapter 6 in our textbook. Our last objectives for this podcast are to discuss steps 9, 10, and 11 of the ABC curriculum plan or model. Now, step 9 is the actual sequencing of the content of the material that you're going to teach. Now, this is also known as scope and sequence. Scope is the content of the curriculum, and the sequence is the order that the content is taught. The scope is the courses, the units, and all those type of things, and the sequence is what order will you actually teach all the different content. This step can include the entire curriculum if you're doing a K through 12, or it can just be the elementary level, it can be middle school, or it can be the high school, or it can just be one grade in that level. Now, if you're doing a college program, it would be for your whole academic major. That would include both the general education courses and your major courses, electives, and any minors that you might work into it. So depends on what you're looking at. In the learning activity 6.7, you actually do this. You'll use information from the previous learning activities and ABC steps to sequence the curriculum. So how are we going to do that? So again, you can use or create a template like the tables on page 129, which is table 6.2, and it's also in the back of your book in page 331, and it's also in your course documents. Or you can use a template like table 6.3 on page 130. This is where you have some independence on how you want to go about doing this. I can use the textbook method, or you can use your own method to do this. So I'm going to use the book information just to kind of explain what the book is talking about. So if you're going across grade levels, you need to decide at what grade level each objective should be mastered. Again, that's critical, mastered. If we're looking at the table 6.2 on page 129, we'll see that we have elementary objectives, so scope and sequence. We have K through 5, and then those items that are going to be mastered in our different goal areas and our objective areas will be indicated by the asterisk code. And you can see there that, for example, in kindergarten, run objective, and which is underneath a locomotor goal area, is expected to be mastered. Then the underhand throw in the object control goal area is expected to be mastered. Then so you do that throughout, and you look through your sequencing of your objectives and figure out when they should be mastered. The next thing is to designate when instruction will begin on each objective and when it will be worked on. And we'll use the dashes code to designate this. As you can see again on the table 6.2, hop and gallop will be instructed for 2 years, hop will be instructed in kindergarten, but expected to be mastered by the time they're in first grade. Whereas gallop will be instructed both in kindergarten, first grade, and then be mastered by the second grade. So the instruction can take over more than one grade. Then you indicate review time for any objectives that warrant it by entering the R code. Uh, it's reviewed because maybe students will forget the material, so you want to review that material again. So on our table 6.2, you'll see in flexibility, it is instructed in the second grade, supposed to be mastered by third grade, and will be reviewed in fourth and fifth. Every time you warm up, you have them stretch. So then it's reviewed. So just as a reminder of our different codes is mastered, the codes are asterisks, instruction are dashes, and reviews are R's. Now again, you may develop your own chart or matrix to show how you're going to sequence the objectives and the content. Now the thing I like a little bit differently than the table that are shown here, I would like you to have 3 areas on your left-hand side of the table. I like you to have your program goals as one. Next is your objectives, or excuse me, your content areas, and then your objectives. Then I would like you to mark when the objectives will be mastered and instructed, masters, reviewed. Okay. So that was step 9. Step 10 is actually it's not a required step for the project. If you choose to do it, that's fine. It's not really required. I think it's a little bit beyond the time that we have in this class. Again, if you want to do this, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Okay, so step 10 is developing teaching and learning maps. This is also known as unit planning, where we're going to sequence all our units over the year, or it can be years. This section also talks about block teaching and learning maps and yearly teaching and learning maps. The benefit of this is students work on objectives repeatedly throughout the year. In athletic training, we call this learning over time. In athletic training education, we try to have multiple layers of teaching, multiple different things in various forms. For example, we'll teach items within a classroom setting. We call it didactic teaching. Then we'll go into a lab type setting where we go into lab and practice different psychomotor skills and cognitive skills. Then the athletic trainer learns it out in the field where they are working in a clinic, and they get clinical experiences where they have to use that and adapt the material. It's the same within physical education, where we want to repeat the skills more than once. So the steps of step 10 is 1, pick a year and identify all the objectives that must be mastered, worked on, or reviewed. So what you just did in the past step. Group these objectives into instructional blocks and indicate how much time will be spent on each block, which we did in the past in previous steps. Once you have developed the blocks, take one block and develop the block teaching and learning maps, BTLMs. Sounds like a sandwich. The BTLM should have a cell for each class session. So if you have multiple classes, you should have just one block for that session. List the objectives to be addressed in this block. Indicate how the time for each objective will be distributed across the class in the block. Again, you have freedom to develop your own version, and again, this step is not required for the project in this class. That's why I'm not spending too much time on it. The step between the steps, I thought it was critical that Chapter 6 talked about success and being prepared. When I was an athletic training student back at UNLV, the head athletic trainer from the Dodgers and the Seattle Mariners came and spoke to us, athletic training students, and they taught us they had the 7 P's of success, but me and a buddy of mine added one more P to it. So 8 P's of success, which is proper planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance. It's critical no matter what we're doing, especially in teaching, that you're always prepared for everything. I think most of you taught long enough to know that, but as just a little clue, always be prepared for whatever may come up. Pages 133 through 139 discuss being prepared. They discuss things like scheduling, facilities, and equipment. Make sure you got it. Make sure it's around. Know what's there and available for you. Schedule it. Don't assume that things are going to be there for you. Know what you have, when you have it, when you can use it, all in advance. Really, to me, this is part of step 3. This is a little late in the ball game to start figuring this stuff out. This should be figured out back in step 3. Step 11 is creating your curriculum guide for the ABC curriculum development procedure. In our class, what you're going to do is use the learning activities as rough drafts for your curriculum development project. The learning activity for Chapter 5, 6, and the program evaluation are rough drafts, and get feedback from me so you can have a really good curriculum guide when you're done. So step 11 for this class is the final curriculum development project, and that would be the final step. You have a nice curriculum, hopefully for your school, your athletic program, or your team, whatever you decide to make it for. Hopefully it's practical and you can use it. I hope you enjoy this process. It's a bit of work, but I think you'll find it useful in the long run.